All right, so we're back here on another Washington Football Guys podcast. It's been a while. What's going on, Rob?
It definitely has been a while. A lot has gone on. My day job took me away for a couple months, but so much went on. Also feels like so little has gone on with this team. I expected this team to be a lot more active in free agency, especially with some of the names that were available. I.e., Bobby Wagner, one of our biggest holes. Is always linebacker, especially that middle linebacker position. The fact that Bobby Wagner wasn't even, from what we can tell, wasn't even really thought of. Kind of disappointing, but we may have gotten our quarterback. We'll see. I've
Yeah,
had I've had a lot of time to think about it and to really look into it. Usually, when stuff like this happens, we usually do a show within the week, if not, 48 hours after something like this happens.
yeah,
But this time, the fact that I was gone, it's been about a month since the trade went down, or it's been a few weeks since the trade went down. I went from anger to confusion to I don't know anymore.
yeah. I totally understand that because and start off with Carson Wentz because at first I think initially my first thing was okay. Everybody and their mama knew he was going to get released, so there
Yeah,
was really no need to jump ship and try to trade, get rid of assets. Obviously, you got rid of of a second round pick, which like we talk about. This draft is definitely going to be a good Friday s type of
yeah,
situation where I think you're going to get a lot of value on a Friday night compared to most years. And then the money, you literally eating $28 million for Carson Wentz for a guy that you could have got pennies on a dime if you would have waited next week. It's almost like I look at it like this. That's just like buying Easter candy the day before Easter, knowing that 2 days from now the candy gonna be 50% off.
yeah, yeah.
In layman terms.
So the thing with that, I would guess is that you is that Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew bought into the, not even really a theory or a notion at this point. It's pretty much scientific fact that vets don't want to come here. Russell Wilson had a no trade clause in his contract. Nobody thought he would ever waive that to come to DC. Same with Deshaun Watson. So really, I think it really just came down to we won't have to give up a lot for him because he's probably not going to want to come here anyways.
True.
So I think that ended up being kind of the driving factor in just you know um pulling the trigger and making the trade, because Ron Rivera could not go into his third season without a quarterback. He could not go into the season with Taylor Heineke, and we had fun that 4 week span with Heineke, and it was a blast, and we had hope, but as we saw it play out, he's not the guy. He's a solid backup. He's exactly what you want in a backup, but you cannot go into year 3 without your quarterback. You go into year 3 without a quarterback, you're not getting a year 4 and 5. And we've talked about this. And I think he just needed to get somebody. Obviously, Rodgers went back to Green Bay, which he would have never in his right mind ever came to
Yeah.
DC. Wilson gets traded to Denver. You had Watson getting traded to Cleveland. You really didn't have any other options other than the draft. And the draft is not a for sure thing. You can scout somebody all you want. I mean, we look at from Jamarcus Russell all the way to Tom Brady. It's not an exact science. We know that.
Yep.
So I think Rivera just he needed to get somebody, and he got somebody who he feels could be essentially a bridge quarterback. Because if the team were to cut Wentz before June 1st of next year, we don't take a cap hit at all.
Go.
So sure, we paid 28 million for this year. We did have to let some assets go, which I am completely confused about, because I feel like a lot of those we could have gotten something for. We could have gotten something for Landon Collins, for
Yeah.
what's his name? Matt Ioannidis. Could have gotten something for him. The fact that these guys were cut, it sucks, but again, we just gotta trust Ron Rivera at this point.
Yeah, and I think my biggest thing was just the assets and actually the having his salary at the 28, which will allude to probably another topic that we'll talk about later on the show, where I know people keep on saying, well, the salary cap is a mythical thing. But it's real. There's a cap number for that. So
Yeah.
those things do matter in the grand scheme of things. But like I said, I think Carson Wentz. I think even if you get the production that you get from him last year, I think that would be definitely beneficial for the team,
Hmm.
especially for a guy that has 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, which and almost had 4,000 yards. Just imagine if we would have had that type of production on this team last year. Even though you
Exactly.
think about it, and we always talk about what was the biggest thing? Don't turn the football over.
Yeah.
Those turnovers, and especially when we look at that team offensively, hey, you need to take advantage of those of turnovers if you receive those, and don't give those turnovers away, because we knew like once the offense give a turnover, that's pretty much how we'll lose football games. And you got a guy like a Carson Wentz who I think could definitely if he stays that 2021 season, and he stayed healthy. That's one thing too, where it's one of the things where it's another roll of the dice. I know we kind of it's almost like we talked about how Ryan Fitzpatrick was last year, how we thought he was going to be kind of eerily similar as far as the expectations concerned. So I definitely think with him, and then I think I think he has a little bit more of a motivation than Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick at the time knew, hey, this is like kind of like my last hurrah as
Yeah.
far as just in general. I mean, but I think same will go with Carson. I think Carson understands, hey, this might be my last chance as far as being a starter in this league, a viable option at the quarterback position. And then you see like what happened the other day with Jim Irsay saying that was a big mistake for them to have him. But I'm like, you guys were sniffing at the playoffs. I mean, even though the Jacksonville thing, you can't blame that on him. You haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014. So
Yeah.
who you blame? Phillip Rivers? Who else? Andrew Luck? I mean, you had a lot of guys who played in Indianapolis since 2014 that never got a job done against Jacksonville. So you really can't necessarily pin that on him per se. So I look at that, and if I hear that as just a competitor alone, that's gonna piss me off and make. I want Jim Irsay to eat crow. I want him to really be
Right.
like, oh man, I really, and it's just like you got rid of me for Matt Ryan, So it's like, okay, I see who's laughing now.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I'm kind of I don't know ish right now on the trade. I don't mind the picks that we gave up because I think we swapped second round picks.
Yeah.
We gave them a third. We gave them another third that can turn into a second. Based on whatever if Carson Wentz can meet certain criteria. But I started looking into his numbers. Like you said, 3,500 yards. He had 62% completion percentage, 27-7 touchdown to INT ratio, which you all you really ask of your quarterback is protect the ball, don't turn it over a whole bunch. The only notable quarterbacks that he threw more interceptions than is Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. All the rest didn't start a majority of the team's games where they weren't the primary starter.
Yeah.
Ninth in QBR, 10th in touchdowns, 18th in yards. So he played solid. He had that one, obviously I don't know if it's recency bias or whatever, but the first thing I thought about was you couldn't beat Jacksonville to get into the playoffs. The worst team in the league, and I get it. Everybody's in the NFL. They're all ballers in the NFL. I get that, but you could not beat Jacksonville, the worst team in the league, whose coach, not at that time, he had been fired already, but whose coach for the majority of the season didn't know who the hell Aaron Donald was, and you couldn't beat them just to get into the playoffs. You didn't need help from anybody else. It was a win and in situation, and you couldn't do that. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's still our team. We're still
Yeah,
gonna. I don't want him to fail. I hope he does resurrect that 2017 season, that MVP caliber season. And this past season was only the third time out of his 6 seasons that he's played all. He played all the games, or he started all the games. He did it his rookie season. He played all 16. And then 2019, I believe, he played all 16 games. Yep, 2019, and then this year, the other 3 seasons, he's missed games.
yeah,
And another thing,
and,
I don't remember who brought it up, but he's never had 1,000 yard receiver. He's never had a true number one receiver.
true.
When he was in Philly, his best receiver, you can argue, outside of actual, I'm talking actual receiver, not Zach Ertz, not the pass catching tight end. His actual
Yeah,
receiver was Nelson Aguilar. I don't even remember who else he had, and he led a bunch of nobodies and beat Dallas on, I think, Sunday night or a Monday night to get into the playoffs to
yep,
win the division with bum receivers. You look at who he had in Indianapolis. Michael Pittman Jr., he's good in his own right. Don't get me wrong, but he's not a top player in the league. T.Y. Hilton is a shell of himself, of what he used to be with Andrew Luck. He's never. Oh yeah, the corpse the corpse of Alshon Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Like,
Yeah,
this has been his what he's had to work with, and especially for us, all the times I've gotten into it with Walker about receivers, top receivers in the 2019 draft class. One thing I always talk about is Terry McLaurin has never had somebody consistent to throw to him. Carson
yeah,
Wentz has never had good receivers to throw to.
exactly.
I mean, I hope, again, I hope he does resurrect his career and he does end up being our guy for the next 10, 12, 15 years. And this will be end up being one of the best trades this team. And this team is not known for trades being on the good end. We're known for trades and free agent signings. Not in the way we want to. We're known for Albert Hainsworth and Deion Sanders and Bruce Smith.
Yeah,
Like, if they can get right with Carson Wentz and he can stay healthy and he can produce like he did in 2017, maybe trade back and get a couple more first round picks. I'm seeing Drake London in a lot of mock drafts at 11.
my
Um,
boy.
maybe my boy, maybe get Mo's boy, Chris Olave
Okay.
at
Yeah,
11. Like, get him one more weapon. There's no reason he can't succeed. And you're right, he does have that chip on his shoulder, saying, "Look at what I did in 2017." And
right.
you can make the argument that, well, that was a team because Nick Foles came in and did exactly what you did, went and won a Super Bowl. He got his statue up, and I know Carson Wentz has to feel some type of way about that.
Yeah,
He led that team for the first 12, 13 games of that season,
yeah,
and then this guy comes and gets a statue because he finished off what I put y'all in position to go and do. So he definitely has a chip on his shoulder, and I hope he uses that to his advantage, and I hope that I'll be balls out and we're playing in an NFC Championship game this year.
yeah. And that's really the goal. And when you just look at it from that standpoint of, especially now, hoping in theory that we'll have consistency at the quarterback position. That's the thing I think, that's the thing we talked about, after the season ended, the situation that really, I think that really killed us. I mean, at the end, I mean, you look at, we went, like we talked about it, our COVID quarterback ended up catching COVID and we end up getting a Garrett Gilbert off the street
Right.
pretty much, he's, on a Thursday, like a night like tonight, he got a call, he's, bathing his child and say, hey, you need to be in Ashburn by 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. And you expect this man was going to be able to suit up and play decently on a Tuesday night? No. So,
Right.
those type of things, people don't, those things, you look at those situations and you're like, if we just had, better quarterback play and we're looking at Carson Wentz numbers, it's a welcome commodity at this point. So, like I said, he could be the gap guy, like you said. Could be a situation. Hey, they may want to get a quarterback at 11 potentially, or
Mm-hmm.
what it's they have options. I put it that way, and they just did what they had to do, and it's just it's just it's very just interesting. I know initially I hated it But then a part of me is like, especially you see how all the quarterbacks kind of fell into play, where it's almost like, and that's the thing where you look at it from that standpoint, it's just like the quarterback market really dried up because I figured it was
Yeah.
going to be a lot of dominoes going to be into place, but it really, really dried up. I think once, you seen the what you had to get for Russ, and then we thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be on the board. I talked about Mr. Trubisky, him potentially coming here. But now, he goes to Pittsburgh. But a lot of this stuff, we thought Jimmy G was going to be on the move, and now you look at him, he's staying pat, and so it's just one of those things where I think initially I was like, we could do better, but then you seen once all the smoke clearing, it's almost like it was a desperation mode, which
Yeah.
you just had to it's almost like I understand the process now. I think initially I was like, nah, this ain't cool. But then you're like, I mean, all the dominoes that fell, and a lot of pieces really didn't move that we anticipated. So, I mean, you had to go for what was at the time the best available.
Yeah. And again, a couple thirds, a third and a second.
Yeah,
I think it could end up being, one of the greatest trades in this team's history. Again, if he does go back to that 2017 form and
yeah.
ends up leading us to an NFC title game in his first few years, a Super Bowl appearance, something like that. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go out and start, guaranteeing Super Bowl victories and putting money on them. Although I probably should. I should see what the odds are looking like for a Super Bowl appearance for
Yeah,
this team.
put,
Um,
this- yeah,
Got to
put
be at
some
like
future
plus
bets on it.
1,500, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
put some future bets.
I'm gonna bring it up right now, but yeah, it could end up being one of the best trades in this team's history, and people make fun of the name all they want. I'm still hearing stuff about it to this
I know.
day. I'm about,
I
oh, that's
like
the name. Like,
right. Give it a rest.
I'm
Like
over it.
I'm just like I'm to a point where I really have embraced it. I know when we did the show, the first February 22.
Hmm.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna roll with it. I'm just like, hey, and I even had like a nickname. I'm Couch Coach the Commander, so I'm
Yeah,
CCTC. So I'm cool with it. I'm like, to me, it's just like, and it's I want that identity. That was my biggest thing, was just to form the identity. I know I was on one of the shows, and they asked me, what was your biggest off-season wish? I was like, I just want an identity.
yeah,
I mean, honestly, because everything else will fall into place. So that's the thing. So, you know, a new name, a new everything. So have you seen the draft hits?
I did. Don't
I
get me
don't
started.
like it.
They're
I
trash.
I don't like it. I do not like
I
I
get
because
what they were trying to do. They're trying to look kind of old school, the vintage, but I
no,
don't like
you
them.
failed them. I know, and I was like, because it was funny because I think I was on another show and everybody was, as far as like how I feel about the names, like I was like, once we create memories and create things like our draft head, I was like, or when Roger Goodell said with the 11th pick in the 2022 NFL draft to watch the Commanders select, that's when you'll buy into it a little bit more. But I'm still, I love the name, but at the same
Yeah,
token, till we get those kind of moments. But yeah, I was like, I don't. They missed the mark on that one, especially
they did.
with the the white Washington and then the red Commanders. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm not a
Me not
fan of
like
it at
that.
all.
Me not like that. Me not a fan of that. So staying with Carson Wentz. So obviously, our former quarterback Alex Smith. So he went on. Let's see, he went on a Rich Eisen show, and Rich Eisen asked him pretty much, "Hey, any advice to give the new quarterback, Carson Wentz, as far as that?" So pretty much he's saying, "Hey." Essentially, in Cliff Notes version, basically he just needs to ignore the noise. Noise meaning everything that's going on in the front office and everything else that's going around, circling around the team. And also, he went on to say, I think that's what great organizations eliminate, and the bad ones have a hard time with it, and all the noise creeps into the building. And obviously, saying that in theory that Washington is a bad environment, hence him just it's just pretty much staying away from the noise and just keep focused. Your thoughts on Alex Smith's thoughts on the organization in its entirety, pretty much.
He's 100% correct.
Yeah.
That is what the good organizations do. You look at all the stuff that the Patriots have gone through, prior to Brady leaving for the last 20 years. You're talking, Spygate, Deflategate, Kraft, Robert Kraft going to massage parlors in Florida. All this stuff that kept coming up with that organization, they found ways to block it out, to just get through it, deal with it in their own way, and they're winning Super Bowls.
Yep.
Here we have, an owner who has been accused by, I don't even know anymore how many women, of sexual assault, sexual harassment, workplace environment, toxic workplace environment. Him saying, I'm stepping away from the team. I'm not involved in day-to-day activities, yet being everywhere in the day-to-day activities around the team. And then doesn't help that the commissioner is out there saying, yeah, he's not involved in the day-to-day. Like, this dude's at the facilities every single day. Like, that is the definition of day-to-day activities. And we're just this team's just not this team, but the NFL is just letting it happen. And as long as Dan Snyder is the owner, I'm confident saying this team will never really reach a pinnacle, because there will always be something with him. There's always some other news, somebody else that he, sexually harassed or was some type of way to. And it's just, it's the truth.
Yeah.
You look at, even, I'm trying to think, even like the Packers, there's not really any drama with the Packers, even though there's not really an owner. They're publicly owned, but still their biggest drama is Aaron Rodgers every offseason. And we've seen for the last 3-4 years, they've figured that out. Yeah, Mo, I literally bought this the night that the name changed. As me and Coach were doing the show, I was on this monitor with the show. I had my other monitor, Fanatics was up on about 2 something on merch. I got this, a short sleeve, a long sleeve, and then the jersey that I have to wear now. But yeah, I wasted 0 time. I the only thing I wish that Alex Smith would have done differently, though, say the stuff while you're still playing. If it was really that bad, bring it up in at the moment. And I know it's hard when you're getting paid by them. We just saw, which we haven't even got to talk about, which I'll kind of talk about it a little bit later, is the whole RG3, the book situation now.
Yeah.
So, like, that was supposed to be like my summer reading plan, and now that's gone. So now I have nothing to read this summer. Not that I really read much anyways, but like, when you're getting paid by somebody, that's when you should be speaking up. That's when you should be bringing stuff up. Yeah, I have nothing wrong with what he said at all. I'm glad he said it. The more that people talk about it, hopefully the more that it'll kind of start to hopefully drive Dan Snyder into, or not just Dan Snyder, but the owners, the other 31 owners or 30 owners, to say, hey, you need to get out of it. You need to sell the team. You don't belong here. But again, I think it's because Dan Snyder has so much dirt on all the owners. I think they're all up to something. They're all doing something together, and I think that's ultimately what it boils down to.
Yeah. So 2 things. So yeah, like you said, and I think it's the only thing, because they're not going to get rid of him, because he's going to go rogue, because they're all and he's good for their business. So that's the thing where, like, people don't, he's never going to, I know in the Super Bowl they were talking about, like, they're going to try to find a way to get rid of Dan Snyder, but I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like you said, and because he needs to have a majority of the owners, his peers have to vote him out, and they're not going to vote him out, because, like you say, They are part of a old boys network, the Country Club Boys. They do stuff, and guess what? If you go out me, trust me, I'm leaving. People gonna be, if you think what Stephen Ross, you think what he's allegedly he's doing,
Oh yeah.
there's where there's smoke. Oh, there's an explosion
Oh, of course.
behind that. So they're not going to out him out. And then the whole thing of him, he's not a part of day to day. Bro, we've been talking about this. We've had this show for damn near a year. We've heard that phrase all ever since we did the show in June.
Yeah.
Every day-to-day activity that we've seen throughout this whole entire season, he's been around. He's been at games. He was there when Sean Taylor's jersey was retired. He was there when the name on 2/2/22. Everything that happened between in the 2021 season, he was there. So this whole thing of telling us that he's not a part of day-to-day operations, he's there. That's just like you being fired from a job, but you're at the daily meeting every day. Don't feed us that. And like you said, that goes to almost to Alex Smith's point, where that's another thing where it's just like, why would somebody want to be a part of this if in these type of circumstances where it's just like you got an owner where a lot of these things that we're talking about, like, and it's crazy thing about, we really ain't even touched the stuff that's off the field.
Right.
That's the thing where we, and generally that's been like one of the biggest clouds going over this organization, from the jump. So you think to yourself, like, especially now in the world that we live in, and just how the nature of these claims stuff, and this could be devastating to a point where you just never know what else is going to come down the turnpike. I think that's the thing. And I remember, prior to us doing this show, we did a show, maybe I want to say maybe about almost a little over a year ago, and about the report and what was going to come out of it. It was a lot of speculation going behind that, and then we were walking on eggshells about that in theory last year. So, and you still feel that way when you hear something else come up about this scene, because like, okay, what's next? Like, is this going to be over? Like, is this, the investigation? You're hearing, accounts of other people, and it's just like, you think about, the victims in this situation, especially, the young women that, like that were coming out of college, and you think to yourself, like, those type of situations, they were forced their hand, because if they didn't comply, in a sense, their career is over at 22, 23 years old. So you think to yourself, like, that's just, it's bizarre. But, I'm not really going to go into the brass tacks and all that stuff. But, I got to tell you a funny story, and it's kind of off the thing. So I saw RG3 at the combine. I didn't say nothing, right? Because I said something kind of abrasive about him on Couch Coach Live, maybe like a week or two prior to that. I think when Mike McDaniel got hired, I brought up the situation, like with him and Cal and all that. And so I was like, I'm not going to be like, oh man, what's up, man? And then be like a Black China and be like a blatant liar. So I didn't want to get my card pulled like Black China. So I became I was like, I'm gonna be a man of my word. Hey, I did talk some trash to him. I'm not gonna act like I'm, buddy and be like, then pull my card like that. Yeah. So I ran to him at the combine, but yeah, I didn't speak to him or nothing. I just nodded and whatever. But yeah, yeah, I was like, nah, this ain't a good look. And it's funny because I literally was just talking about him prior, maybe like 2 weeks prior to going to the combine, when Mike McDaniel got hired to Miami. But yeah, so yeah, that's wild. But
so real quick,
yeah.
they have right now, the Commanders are plus 5,400 to win the Super Bowl.
Mm.
plus 2,600 to um, win the NFC Championship game, plus 400 to win the division, and the one I really like, just because the low risk, high reward, Carson Wentz to win MVP, plus
Hmm.
10,000.
Hmm.
So I'm
10,000.
looking at 75 on each of them. You're paying out $13,800
Hmm.
for
Based
a
on
measly little $300 bet.
oof.
I mean, close to $14,000.
Yeah,
Even if it's just the Carson Wentz one wins, that's the
I
only
know
one I would want to win.
that would be yeah. That would be a hell of a futures bet. Like
Yeah.
you would literally strike gold. You couldn't, you know, tell us nothing. But
Right.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy. But it's funny. So one of the kind of the biggest off-season moves I think potentially for this team is actually the re-sign of J.D Mckissic. Initially, he signed to Buffalo. He pretty much everybody was saying goodbyes to
Yeah.
him, and then the Commander swooped in 11th hour and matched it. And JD said, "Hey, I didn't want to leave," and he got his deal. So, your thoughts on McKissick staying with us?
Yeah, it was weird. All right, because obviously, like everybody else, we saw the reports at first saying he agreed to terms with Buffalo and was gonna go there. Of course, I was upset because he was a real asset. He helped us a lot. The short time that Antonio Gibson was out. And then I remember, I think the next day, scrolling through Facebook and seeing that he had re-signed.
Yeah,
From my understanding, Washington didn't even offer him initially.
yeah.
They didn't offer him a contract, nothing. They just saw what Buffalo was giving him or was willing to give him, and they figured, oh, we can afford that. Then let's see what we can do, and offered him the uh, same exact contract, same year, same money, same guaranteed everything the exact same, and he chose to stay, which I thought was pretty cool. How we just talked about free agents don't want to come here. You know,
Mhm.
um, People with no trade clauses, they're not willing to waive that to come here, to come play for this dysfunctional organization, this terrible owner that we have. The fact that not only did somebody want to stay, but want to stay bad enough that they had an offer from somebody else, and all this team had to do was match it, and that was enough to get him to stay. And I think that's a testament to Ron Rivera and the regime that he's running. And I think he really has the respect of these players. And it makes me feel really good about Terry McLaurin coming up. 'Cause I know that we're about to get into that a little bit. I think shortly after this, but that I think it sets up nicely, and it kind of bodes well for that possibility.
Yeah. I give him a lot of kudos for him because to me, I was uber excited for Buffalo. I was like, this could be a Super Bowl, I call it a Super Bowl S type of acquisition that could help them
Mhm.
propel them going forward. I was like, you get a guy like a J.D. Mckissic, you've already had struggle in the run game. You got a guy who can run, get out the backfield, all kinds of. You have a versatile running back, so that's one thing I think could help like a guy like a Josh Allen and help that running game. I was like, phew, like I was like, this could be a move that could put Buffalo in the Super Bowl, could put them going to Arizona next year, but.
Yeah.
But kudos to JD for staying. I'm like, because to me, I thought that he left. I think to me that was a great opportunity that he left. As far as getting that offer from Buffalo. So to me, for him wanting to come back, that speaks volume. Like I said, to your point, it speaks volumes to this team, and it speaks volumes to Coach Rivera, Coach King, and everybody else on the staff. Where you look at it from the standpoint of he went from a situation that he could have been the missing link on a Super Bowl contending team and decided to come here and ride it out. and what
Yeah.
that to come back and ride it out here. So I look at that as that's a promising move. Like I said, like I teased it earlier, this might be one of the biggest moves in the offseason for Washington
Yeah.
because he really passed up an opportunity. I think a golden opportunity for him. To stay here. So I'm definitely applaud him. And like you said, it's kind of one of those where you look at it from the standpoint of this could be a move that we look at and be like, this could be like the turning point where a lot of
Yeah.
people, a situation where I definitely thought he would have been able to flourish, especially with him, Singletary and all those guys at the running back position in Buffalo. So, and for him to want to stay here, that's a hell of a commitment. And that's one of the things where you look at it, hey, there's a light at the end of this tunnel. That guys actually want, like you said, guys want to stay here. Guys want to actually be a part of what's going on here. So it's definitely a great move. I'm ecstatic on both ends. I was ecstatic with Buffalo initially, but then when he wanted to come back, I was shocked. I was like, whew, I'm thankful that you came back. Like, yes, don't.
Me too.
I was like, when that happened, I was like, he wants to come back. I was like, yes, yes. I was like, man, I was like, oh man, he wants to come back. Come on, let's give him an ink pen, bring him back.
Yeah.
But definitely a good move. So this is, and another thing, when people say yesterday's price is not today's price.
Hmm.
So, we went on the air. Last episode was February 2nd, 2222. So a lot has changed from the wide receiver position. So, we looked at, I remember on Couch Coach Live, we broke the story about Christian Kirk getting a 4-year, $72 million.
Did he go?
You had Devontae Adams, went to Green Bay, and not Green Bay, but we went to Oakland, not Oakland.
Vegas.
$141 million contract, and I think Green Bay received first and second round picks, and then Tyreek Hill. Today's price, yesterday's price isn't today's price. The Dolphins got him for an extension for 4 years, $120 million, and end up giving the Kansas City Chiefs 5 picks. So there will be a market for Terry McLaurin.
Oh yeah.
So, and it looks like he's going to probably be, if you're looking at you look at Devontae's getting almost, 28.5 a year annually, and then Tyreek getting 30. So you're looking at maybe the number at 20 to 22 million potentially a year. So what we're going to do with Terry?
Gonna resign him.
Yeah.
I'm Dan Snyder or Tanya Snyder because he's not. Dan isn't
Day to
involved
day,
in the day to
remember?
day.
Day. Yeah.
You go to him, you hand him a check that only has his name written on it,
Correct.
and you tell him fill in that, put in whatever number you want.
Yeah.
Because this goes back to what we were literally just talking about, and the fact that Carson Wentz has never had a true number one receiver. And if he's going to succeed here, the best way for him to do that is to have a true number one receiver in Terry McLaurin. Curtis Samuel, I don't believe is that right now, nor will he ever be a true number one. Even if you were to draft a Chris Olave or Drake London, there's no guarantee that they will become true number one receivers. You have a true number one receiver, which we have not had. I'm trying to think. When was the last time we had a true number one receiver? A
Because I
top
can't.
10 receiver in the league.
Oh boy, or no, let me stop. I mean, you know what? I say it as a joke. You think about it because you look at Garcon, he was really like more so like a two.
Mhm.
D-Jack, they were like kind of 1A, 1A, 1B. I don't I mean, I say it as a joke, probably is Art Monk.
Art
I
Monk,
mean,
right?
honestly, because Michael Westbrook, he was a good wide receiver, but he won't like a almost like an all pro. But he was a one, but he won't like a like to fit your criteria that you're speaking on. Yeah, it's probably Art Monk. I mean,
Okay.
seriously. I mean, because you think about Terry was our first 1,000-yard receiver since a guy in the since 1994
Yeah.
or something like that. It was something bizarre. I don't even know who the guy name was, which is so crazy.
So the fact that we finally have a true number one receiver, a top 10 receiver in the league, you can argue top five.
Yep.
You need to keep him.
Yep.
Carson Wentz needs all the weapons that he can get and add more. And so again, you give Terry McLaurin, you give him a blank check, and you let him fill in the number.
Yep, because I always said the first thing that we should have done was to sign him to a long-term deal. Because even now you look at just the market that is happening. If you let this sit, what's gonna happen next year? You want him to walk. So to me, you take care of him. I mean,
Yeah.
because he's that's the thing where I think people really, he's outplayed his contract like
Yeah.
exponentially. So it's
Oh,
almost like you've been getting almost 15 to 20 million dollars of production from him out the last 3 years. Even when you was paying them, that base, I think he may get like a million or so. So he's getting his money's worth. You've already got his money's worth. It's time for him to get paid. And that's the thing where you have to get like you and I know everybody talk about during the season like, oh, he's wasting his best years. No, it's his years are best to come. Like every wide receiver not gonna have a situation where they're gonna have the best situation, but he's making the situation better. That's the thing where I think that's what I hate where everybody said, well, he's wasting his time here. No, he's established himself as a good wide receiver, and that's the thing you want, especially a guy like him. He doesn't have that diva mentality. He has a workman's
mhm.
attitude. He just goes out there. He works hard. He supports his teammates. He's a leader. He's a guy that you want on this team, regardless of the ebbs and flows. I'm like, dude, he was a part of the 2019 team. I don't think it's ever going to get as worse as 3-13 at this point. So
Right.
to me, he was a part of it, and so to me, you keep like you said, you give him a blank check. You give him what he want because honestly, at the end of the day, it's you. That's the thing about all of this. You want these guys, you gonna have to pay for them. And it's like all of it. Like I hear Bashadi complaining about Lamar Jackson and complaining about Deshaun Watson getting that deal in Cleveland. He's like he's making it bad for everybody else. It is what it is. NFL market. Don't be successful. This is what happens when you're a billion dollar entity. Stuff like this is gonna happen. So either what you gonna do about it, and the same thing go with Terry. Because okay, you let Terry walk, then what you gonna do? You gonna get somebody else, and then guess what's gonna happen with them? They're gonna want money.
Yep.
But I'd rather give it to a guy like a Terry, who I know is a leader on and off this field. Like he's a guy that I would want to, that I know for certain he's going to get his money's worth. He's going to be a leader of this team. He's going to be a guy that's always going to show up. He's going to be a guy that if you, especially for an organization like this, that's sketchy, you want a stand-up guy like a Terry McLaurin. Like he's worth the price of what he commands
Yep.
because he has intangibles that goes, that's beyond the football field. You want that. And like you said, and even I think I can't wait for the Carson Wentz and Terry Mclaurin connection, because even he said, man, I wanted to throw you a football, when I first, seen you a few years ago. Like I wanted to throw footballs to you. So it's like, hey, and people, and that's the thing where, you get a guy like him who isn't like the Tyreek Hills. I'm not saying, I mean, as far as just the whole bravado, and that's nothing wrong with what Tyreek Hill does.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong, he's doing his thing, the peace thing, that's cool and all. That's fine. But we got a guy that's unlike that, that's undiva like. And it's trying to be a diva at the wide receiver position. Don't get it, I don't want to miss my words, but I'd rather have a guy like a Terry. I know Terry's gonna be there. Terry's reliable. Terry's a leader, and you need somebody, and you need somebody like that on your team. I don't care how bad this team will get, but like I said, they'll never get as bad as 2019. 2019 was rock bottom.
Yeah.
That's never gonna happen.
Yeah, 2019 was, if you could get lower than rock bottom, that's what
That's
2019
it.
was for
Yeah.
us. And the highs haven't been much higher than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was on that team. He showed flashes. We've known he was gonna be a good player. Ironically, he's partially here because of Dwayne Haskins. Yeah, as soon as Dwayne Haskins was drafted, that's the first thing he tweeted out was go get me my guy, which they did,
Yep.
and only one of
Yep.
them is still here.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got to re-sign him. Um, I still would say get somebody in, probably on a day two, another, maybe add one or two more receivers. Give a little bit more options, and see where Curtis Samuel is at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And we're still paying him quite a bit of money for 3 catches a season. So maybe this rehab will maybe
Yeah.
if he's rehabbing this offseason, it'll get him right and he'll be able to be a true number two and take a lot of that off of Terry McLaurin, and then you throw someone like a Drake London or a Chris Olave in there as a second, wideout. You keep Curtis Samuel in the slot. You put a second true speed guy at wideout on the other side, and give Carson Wentz time. That's going to be another thing is this offensive line. We don't have Brandon Sheriff anymore. Let go of Eric Flowers, which I still don't understand.
Yeah.
Um, but you just gotta work with what you got. You got to give Carson Wentz an opportunity, and I think with Terry McLaurin, this is the best opportunity he's going to have in his career. If he doesn't make it here, then he's, like you said, he's pretty much done.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, yeah, he'll be done if this doesn't work out for him. And like you said, that's the thing where if you look at it just from that standpoint of, you know, Curtis Samuel, which I think in theory that hammy messed him up. I think he kind of came back too early. That's the thing when I get it, and I understand, like, as far as, hey, I need to get back on this field, but then he had some setbacks with that hammy. So hopefully he'll come in healthy and do his thing. And then I still haven't lost hope on De'Ami Brown. That's another guy who I'm hoping could do something as well. Like if you can get him in, and he can get some stuff going. He had a few catches this year. I definitely thought he was gonna get some touchdowns this year, but obviously that didn't really pan out. He had a nice catch against Dallas. I remember.
Yeah.
I think it might have been his only reception, but I don't. But I'm still holding out hope for him, potentially. But like you said, if and that's the thing with the wide receiver. This is a nice class of wide receivers. If you want to get one Thursday night, okay, you got a bevy of those on Thursday night, and then like you said, we got a bargain second, third round picks on Friday night. I think are going to be guys who might potentially have first round grades, and you can get them, pretty much pennies on a dollar on Friday. So
Yeah.
that's the hope. I think I always look at Friday as almost like I don't want to, dumpster dive is more for Saturday, but this is more so looking at a clearance rack and be like, oh, this is this is 50 cents off the dollar. Okay, let's grab this.
Yeah,
So more so.
exactly.
So yeah, so dumpster diving this Saturday. Uh, Clearance bin is on Friday. So and then the front the doorbusters on Thursday. So if we're
Right.
looking from a retail perspective.
But
But
I
yeah,
I really like someone like Chris Olave on the other side to
yeah,
complement Terry
I like
McLaurin.
that. Yeah. Well, I know we're gonna have a nice if this happens, we're gonna have a little Ohio State Mid Atlantic.
And we might just have to get Mo a couple jerseys.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, he gonna have to show some love to some Buckeyes
Yep.
on. Yeah, hey, it's only right because I remember when they had Ryan Switzer, and I was like, bro, I was like when he got. I'm telling you, when he got moved, I was so happy. I was like, good. I ain't got to root. I can root for him completely. I knew
Yep.
for sure he was going. I thought for sure he was going to be like the next, like Cole Beasley, and was going to torch us like Cole Beasley used to do us. But thank goodness that didn't happen on our end. But yeah. So that being said, I'll put a bow on this week's Washington Football Guys pod. Any final thoughts before we head on out?
It's been fun. It's been a while since we got to do our show. I've been gone.
Yeah.
About to leave again in about a month, unfortunately. But after that, I'm done. I'll be able. We'll be hitting this head on. We got what do we got coming up? The draft show that we're doing on the 28th,
Yeah.
hosted by your boy once again for the second straight year. I'm excited for that. I have a lot of catching up to do as far as draft coverage and draft prospects. I got a lot of catching up to do, which I plan on. And then, man, I'm probably gonna put out a solo podcast tomorrow. We'll record one. I'm gonna try to record one tomorrow. I really want to talk about that RG3 book that now will never be and will never know. I was very upset when I heard that, but other than that, draft coverage. Shout out to Off the Ball. Allowing me to still be a part of this team, even though I was gone for a whole 2 months and contributed literally nothing. It's always good to come back home and be welcomed once again, so easily. Uh, so definitely go check out. I've been keeping up with what everybody's been putting out. Coach Mo, um, Prez, everybody's been putting out dope content, especially with the draft coming up. It's kind of our time to. It's for us football guys. We got to kind of compete with the NBA guys. They're getting ready for the playoffs and a lot of the attention. So we really got to. The way I've been hitting the draft has been crazy. But yeah, it's been fun. Can't wait till the next show, whenever that is.
Yeah. Well, it'll be soon. Hopefully it'll be next week or soon.
Hopefully.
Or so yeah. But Facebook, Twitter, Instagram on the Couch Coach Lab. It's took somewhat of a hiatus. Life happens. There, new zip code, new situation. So hey, now I think kind of back into the fold. Now in my home now. So a newer home. So we get it all back together. Still working on some stuff behind the scenes, try to do some more like local sports coverage. So try to get that kind of squared away. We'll kind of iron all that type of stuff out. I think we'll have a show tomorrow night. Potentially we'll do some stuff tomorrow night and then go back on our regular scheduled programming next week. So yeah, like you said, a lot has happened, a lot has changed, but hey, we are back. The Washington Football Guys are back, and yeah. So for the guys, Rob and Couch Coach the Commander, we get you guys next week, man. This has been this week's Washington Football Guys podcast, and we out.